Hi everyone, welcome. We're now ready to begin our webinar, Get Your Head in the Cloud. I'm Virginia with Rutgers Executive and Professional Education. I'll be your host and moderator. Rutgers Executive and Professional Education is the proud sponsor for today's webinar, and we're very excited to include this topic in our webinar series. We encourage everybody to send us questions. You will do so by clicking on the orange arrow that is depicted here in the picture. This is your control box. You will type your questions into the question box, and then you're going to press send at any time. We will be taking questions throughout the presentation, so please do feel free as a question arises to go ahead and send that to us, and we'll address it at that time. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the archive version will be sent to you by email by the end of this week or early next week. It's now my pleasure to introduce our instructor. Dr. Deborah Waddell is the Director of Leadership Courses and instructor at the George Washington University School of Medicine. Dr. Waddell is also an instructor for the HR management programs offered by Rutgers Executive and Professional Education. Additionally, Dr. Waddell is the author of The EHR Advantage and speaks regularly on topics on human resources and technology. Deborah, please take it away.
Thank you, Virginia. I wanted to talk on this subject of the cloud because I think it is so critically important to human resource professionals. And so the objectives that we have for this session are what you see right here in front of you, to define the cloud and examine its components, some of the cloud options, best practices for cloud policy. I'm going to show you a couple of business cases where cloud has successfully been implemented and very effectively implemented, and examine your role as a leader and change agent for cloud optimization in the workplace as an HR professional. We will also look at cloud trends for 2017. And throughout this presentation, you'll note that I often talk about mobile and cloud together because mobile is a significant trend that is taking place throughout the workplace and education, nonprofits, the government, as you well know, and it's also working hand in hand with cloud to optimize HR performance. So I'd like to look at the cloud as an HR innovation. I used to start my presentations about technology and HR with a picture of whitewater and a quote from Peter Vail that says we're basically in the middle of whitewater and, you know, hang on to your raft. But what I'm seeing with the cloud and these new trends in HR technologies is that it's like a fresh wind. It's really sweeping across HR, and those who are embracing it are finding its value as cloud-enabled HR functions succeed. So what is cloud computing? Very quickly, I'll talk about a number of different dimensions. Cloud is a third corporation offering that allows for automated backups and standard level agreements that are like a maintenance contract instead of investing in hardware and software, which is what many of you have done with legacy systems, the legacy systems that you have. Cloud is a continual backup that's available through the internet directly to your organization and allows for automated upgrades on a regular basis. Cloud enables mobile access from anywhere. So as I said, it works in tandem very nicely with mobile technology. It's the modern web-based integration so that you can integrate systems that before were incompatible or unconnected. It's elastic and pay-as-you-go, so you can scale up and down. And that's why you'll see many startups have these robust capabilities just from the get-go in their HR departments, and that's because they're using cloud-enabled technologies that allow them to scale up immediately and or back off of certain functions within the software offering that they're using if they feel that they don't need all of that functionality. And clouds offer a multi-tenant solution. The vendor does so, and what that does is allow for terrific cost savings. You'll hear me mention cost savings frequently with regard to the cloud. Cloud computing is distributed computing that focuses on a wide range of users with distributed access to scalable, as I mentioned before, virtualized hardware and software, because it's not owned by and co-located in the organization, and offers an infrastructure that's available over the internet. Cloud is different from when you used to purchase, for instance, the disks for your Microsoft suite of offerings to each of your employees. Instead, cloud allows you to, it's commoditized, so you pay for what you use, almost like you would for any traditional electricity, gas, or telephony service. Reasons to use the cloud, these are just some of them. I'll start at the top. You only pay as you use. You don't pay for anything you don't use. So let's say you have a very sophisticated ERP, enterprise resource planning system, but you don't use all of its components. Nevertheless, you're paying for all of those. However, if it's moved to the cloud, and now there are ERPs available through the cloud, you only pay for what you use. So it's a lower total cost of ownership. And going to the right, you have reliability, scalability, so you can use more features or less features, and sustainability. You get all of these features that you need on a sustainable basis. There's secure storage management. It is a significantly lower capital expenditure, frees up internal resources, especially in the HR department. It's highly automated and utility-based, and the deployment is simple in a matter of days versus a matter of weeks or months sometimes to roll out a new system. It's not device and location dependent, rather it's device and location independent, so you can use your mobile device anywhere, still have access through the cloud to these services, and you can get 24/7 support and maintenance. It's just a phenomenal thing. Why HR is adopting cloud. Some of the drivers for deploying a new cloud HRS is we need a single system of record for all HR data. We need to have reliable, consistent reporting. And I would add across systems. We need an integrated HR data system to perform analytics. We needed to standardize HR data across multiple geographies and/or business units. Those are the top reasons why HR departments are moving to the cloud. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen when I when I have a feature like this, which is a bar graph that I've pulled from some other information. I'm citing the sources, and I have the references all at the back end of this presentation, so you can lay your hands on this information yourself, this data, should you need to use it in the future. There are a number of cloud components: software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and software as a service is typically used as a consume as you go. ERPs are available through the cloud. Client relationship management systems, CRMs, are available through the cloud. Collaboration, emailing, and the platform as a service allows for application development in the cloud and then used by the organization. And then infrastructure as a service allows for networking. It is a cloud service at the networking level. There are a number of cloud options. When cloud was introduced, it was primarily public cloud. It was a little bit unstable, and there were plenty of reasons to be concerned about security. But now we have more options, and the public cloud is still viable. There's reasons to use it. Therefore, it's not going away. For instance, if you have an iPhone and you have you take pictures frequently, you can easily put them in a public cloud. There's no real need for high levels of security with that. But we also have the option of the private cloud, a hybrid cloud, which is a combination of both. So an organization could have access to both a public cloud and a private cloud. And more recently, we've developed these clouds called community clouds, which are used by organizations of similar functions. So associations would use a community cloud. Here's a little drill down on those same options and defining them or in text, and then their benefits, each of their benefits, and the concerns that you might have. One concern, as you look at the bottom of the screen, that cuts across public, private, hybrid, and community, is the ongoing concern for security. And the least secure would be the public cloud. The most secure would be the private cloud. However, that's dedicated to your organization, and that allows for security at the organizational level and built into the cloud. And then hybrid has some security risks associated with it, and as does community. So an ongoing consideration as you talk about cloud is working with your IT department. How are we going to secure our interactions in the public cloud, private, hybrid, or community? One approach to evaluating cloud vendors is to identify systems that you would like to migrate to the cloud. And so let's say that you have moved from a variety of HR systems and you want to go for a complete cloud-based talent management system. You can migrate those systems one by one. It's not a complete lift and shift all at once. Rather, you can choose your systems for migration to the cloud, keep the legacy systems, and run them concurrently and migrate over time. So you select the best of breed, and you want to consider, do we want application residence here within our organization, or single or multi-tenant usage of the cloud? What can we bear in terms of possible security issues, and also what would be our most cost-effective move to get into the cloud? And the caveat about cloud is that your arrangements are very specific in the service level agreement. And so as you move to the cloud, as an HR decision maker, you want to be sure that you are aware of all the variables that are in the service level agreement. Always use your IT department, work hand in hand with them. Why should I care about the cloud? Well, the cloud computing solves a number of common HR challenges, and I'm quoting Graham, an article she wrote in 2007 about 17, excuse me, about common HR challenges that can be surmounted by the use of cloud. And the first is collaboration. We often find that we have limited collaboration in organizations between business units because they're so segmented and siloed. Cloud, through the use of mobile and also cloud-enabled systems, allows collaboration across business units, and it's a seamless approach to system integration as well. So when you're using a variety of systems, you can integrate them in the cloud and have a seamless, apparently single face to your users. And an example of that is in the employee self-service portal. Collaboration is very much easier through use of the cloud. And the data silos and access can go away because you can also integrate your databases for big data access and, of course, data warehousing in a volume that's unavailable on usually in a single organization. But in the cloud, you have a lot more storage capabilities. And currency. As a behind-the-scenes function, HR is not often perceived as a revenue-generating entity. Without the right tools, HR teams end up spending more time on administrative paperwork and less on strategic projects. So one of the things that the cloud does for us is cloud solutions have the power to completely eliminate manual administrative duties and move HR departments into a more strategic level of involvement in the organization. And cloud offers a level of efficiency that is its top benefit, the top benefit of its cloud solutions, especially in the use of software. Because the cloud is scalable, you don't have to invest in all of the tools of, let's say, a specific offering. And so instead of wasting valuable resources on manual processes or outdated on-premise technology solutions and systems, you have a lot more efficiency by just using the system features that are relevant to your organization. And also it allows, as I mentioned in the previous point, access to data at a much larger scale in the cloud that can allow for predictive analytics. So there are many use cases for HR in the cloud. I'll point to two, however, that I think that are really interesting in the area of retail and nonprofits. So Brooks Brothers was, up until recently, having their local managers of their retail outlets do all the hiring and etc. And that process, that hiring onboarding process, was completely paper-based and ate up hours of the manager's time. They've now moved to SAP SuccessFactors, which is cloud-based, and this has made a world of difference for Brooks Brothers managers, because now with the cloud-based onboarding, they send a link with the online equivalent of all that onboarding paperwork, etc. And then and it's mobile access, then the new employee can reply using this cloud-based service, SuccessFactors. They found that they've eliminated 15 paper-based processes, and they've had a 10% increase in productivity. So it's really been a wonderful use case in favor of the cloud. There's also a nonprofit organization, and I'm just taking two, but called City Year. It's part of AmeriCorps, which is a mentoring program that helps kids in high poverty at risk areas, and it helps them to stay in school. So they decided that because their target audience are children and teenagers, the language of teenagers is mobile, and they believe that their mentors should use mobile just as their mentees are. And so they set up a service level agreement with Workday, and they're using that for their volunteers and also for their in-house employees. And what they found was particularly helpful as they moved everything to the cloud and mobile is that the different business units within AmeriCorps were able to talk to each other. So the finance could use components that were available from HR and vice versa. And so that integration of systems available through the cloud is also enabled their business to work smarter, more efficiently, and cost less. Essentially, what they at City Year are saying is that it allows them to do work the way that they want to do work instead of conforming to the way a system drives you to do work. So the cloud is much more flexible in that manner, and especially when enabled to by mobile, to use mobile devices. So just some stats. In 2015, more than 40% of all companies were planning on replacing or upgrading their core HRMS, 60% working on new enterprise HR system strategy. Those with upgraded systems are spending 22% less per employee on HR, which is the cost benefits are just undeniable. The HRMS systems and platform as a service technologies let vendors create an array of applications that leverage and extend their core offerings. And companies doing this are ADP, very familiar, ADP, SAP, IBM, Cornerstone, HPE, all organizations that are offering a lot more flexibility to their clients. Employee engagement is emerging as a primary application enabled by cloud services because also all the social networking and the social media can run in the cloud, accessible by their mobile devices. And this gets employees more engaged, even if only to, if you set up a mobile cloud-enabled portal that enables employee self-service, it's so much more helpful and usable by the employee on their own terms that it engages the employee in other uses for the cloud. When you do move to the cloud, it's important that you have a cloud policy. And so you always work with your IT manager. And I guess this goes without saying, but I want to mention it because cloud policy components are unique to that particular technology. For instance, you want to, as in any other, in this case, no sharing of login credentials, because that's one of those security issues that is very important for the cloud. So you want multiple levels of sign-ins and thresholds that the employees have to go in to access the cloud, but also no a policy statement, you would make sure that you articulate that there are no sharing of login credentials and other policies that that make your organization compliant with all current laws. And the IT manager's chief information officer, in tandem with the HR organization, would determine what data may or may not be stored in the cloud. And so you want to be part of that policy arrangement so that you can dictate, you know, from the HR perspective, what should be available. No personal cloud used for company-related communications or company-owned data. That would be part of any standard cloud policy. This figure, which comes from an interesting article by Josh Burson of Deloitte, HR Technology Disruptions for 2017, points out the progression of HR's involvement in the technology realm. And now on the far right, I'll just jump to the far right, 2016, you'll see that HR is fully engaged in mobile and cloud technologies. And so HR is looking at next-gen feedback, performance ratings, etc., that are cloud-enabled. They are using social media now in HR that, again, is cloud-enabled. Our new recruitment and candidate tools, cloud-enabled, like Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Indeed, all cloud-enabled. Our culture and team productivity, there's many tools available to increase productivity, and they are, again, accessible through the cloud. Our work-life balance and wellness programs are now all cloud-enabled, and you know, the competitions you set up for wellness within your organization that tie to the Fitbit, that tie to the smartphone that ties to the mobile usage and the cloud. All of this it all drives back to cloud-enabled software, infrastructure, platforms, etc. Mobile anytime learning, now cloud-enabled mobile learning. You've heard of that, and the new movement to make learning accessible just in time, just enough at point of need. Basically the definition of a job aid. However, that's what the driving force is for mobile learning, which is accessible on your mobile device, enabled by cloud, and employee self-service enabled by the cloud. Forrester in 2016 came out with this projection of the future in cloud. Because of the savings realized, startups are using the cloud most effectively, and the reason why is they start their systems, their HR systems in the cloud rather than lifting and shift. But many established organizations are doing this lift and shift where they decide which programs, services, systems to put in the cloud and shift that to the cloud and slowly migrate all of their systems or the majority to the cloud. And what we're finding is an increased emphasis on security, but the front line of defense is to have the security internal to the organization and still use cloud and mobile alternatives to our legacy systems. So as I said, I think that cloud is a fresh wind, and it's bringing new HR technologies that are sweeping the practice of HR. And it requires a whole new kind of leadership, because what we find ourselves as we embrace these new technologies, including cloud and mobile, is that we're maybe convincing people above us about the viability of the cloud and convincing the people below us. So in essence, we're leading from the middle. And then what I know to be true about the most effective method of leading from the middle is authentic leadership. And bottom line is, you adopt the technology yourself, model its use, and you become the exemplar and the positive champion of the technology. Here are some standard characteristics of an authentic leader, and you may recognize yourself in these particular characteristics. If so, you're the perfect example of the change leader that's needed to bring change to HR and to embrace these new technologies, in particular of cloud and mobile. Role modeling, innovative thought, fostering understanding, reinforcing the change with formal processes, and developing employee talents and skills. These are change agent actions that you can embrace in order to move your organization in the right direction. Here are my references, and now if there's any questions.
Thank you, Deborah, for this very informative, great presentation. We did receive some questions, so we'll go over them now. Our first question is, do you see the cloud offering same customization and flexibility? Can a customer decline certain upgrades or enhancements?
Yes, that's part of that service level of agreement. Great question. And yes, you're the one in control, but you have to be sure that what you want, your level of engagement, so to speak, and is specified in that service level agreement, which is why you always get your IT department involved in any cloud agreement.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, there are a lot of cloud offerings. How do I know which one is appropriate for me?
I would say that you know best the climate and the needs of your HR community and your employees. And so the cloud offering is the cloud offerings, plural, that you end up embracing is going to be a process of working alongside stakeholders in your IT department and your leadership in HR to determine what exactly would be the most cost-effective and most powerful move that you could make toward the cloud, always keeping in mind that your bottom line is employee engagement. What makes your employees work more efficiently, gives them the tools that they need, and engages them with each other and in the workplace.
Great, thank you. Our last question is, why does an HR generalist need to know about cloud technology or any other technology for that matter? I really have no responsibility to make decisions about technology and spend most of my time dealing with people.
Yes, I think that that is a typical question, and it's fair game. I think sometimes we get down in the weeds, but it's time for HR professionals to back up and look at the big picture. This wave, this wind is coming at us, and we cannot hold back any longer. So if we remain oblivious to it, it really does cost efficiencies and loses cost benefits for the entire organization if we stay in the dark ages. It's time to move forward and have a voice and just be aware as you're doing today. I applaud your attendance today, because as you become more aware of these new technologies, you'll see their benefits to your organization, and speak out, because you'll find that it gives your voice is going to be listened to as we continue to move forward into this new age of cloud.
Great, thank you. So that was our last question. If any questions come to your mind, please feel free to email them to me, and I can always forward them over to Deborah and then send you Deborah's answer back. So this webinar has been approved for 1 business recertification credit through HRCI and zero 0.5 professional development credit through SHRM. Please contact me. My email is below or on this slide, and I can provide you with the codes that you need to receive the credit. As a thank you for participating in our webinar, we would like to offer you a 20% discount off of our Master's Certificate Next Gen HR 1-week accelerated program. This will be held June 5th through 9th on the Livingston campus in Piscataway. Also, Deborah is an instructor. Deborah instructs 2 modules in this program. She instructs EHR and mobile HR. So please go to our website, epe.rutgers.edu, for more information, and then use the discount code webinar 032217 to receive the discount. So this concludes today's webinar. Deborah, thank you again for this great presentation, and thank you all for joining us. Again, our website is epe.rutgers.edu. We hope to see you in our future webinars. Also, for anybody attending our USHRM next week, Rutgers Executive and Professional Education, we'll have a table there, so please do stop by, say hi to us, and thank you again for participating.